I'll let you take the wheel for this one. Wexford-2-17, Offaly-1-17 at Wexford Park. You had a great start. Brian Dignan hitting the back of the net early. Wexford responded with a goal of their own from Kevin Foley. Then it was game on from that point, and Wexford ultimately shaded.
Can we move on? This
up to you, man. You're the guest.
I genuinely preferred the defeat to Kilkenny last weekend because the game was over at halftime. This one just hurt just because it was the last minute. At the start of the season, we kind of pinpointed the games that Offaly could target in the Leinster Championship, and we pinpointed Dublin in Parnell Park and Wexford in Chadwick's Wexford Park. And ironically, those two games have turned out to be two games that we've essentially thrown away, to be honest with you. This one just hurt because we performed extremely, extremely well. We defended expertly yesterday. Wexford by halftime had 1-6 and 1-1 came from play, which for a Wexford with the players that they do have in their forward line is just simply not good enough from their perspective. They were hitting a lot of poor wides as well. Lee Chin was hitting a lot of wides from frees as well. Ben Keneally was doing a stellar job on him. Colin King was at cornerback. He was doing a stellar job on Byrne. He had to go off at halftime due to injury, and that was a massive, massive blow for us, to be honest with you. And yeah, we were performing really well. Dan Ravenhill, in my opinion, was having the best game he's had in a long time for Offaly. Brian Dignan got his goal and was doing well. We were fighting hard for every ball. Killian Sampson was having a great game in midfield. Colin Spain was doing well. I thought Kieran Burke was strong. Donald Shirley was strong. Ross Ravenhill, again, was probably having the best game he'd had in a long time in an Offaly jersey. He was fighting for every ball. He was strong under the tackle. And Wexford were fairly anonymous. Kevin Foley was probably their strongest forward, along with maybe Jack O'Connor, who was just, that big presence that you do need in every single team. But Chin and Roy O'Connor didn't score from play until the 60th minute, 63rd minute, something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you were thinking if you keep them quiet, you have a great chance, and we did exactly that. And yeah, look, we just some daft decisions at times. There was great fight from our lads. There was great fight from Wexford as well. It was a real heated battle, which sometimes you love to watch those games probably more than a free-flowing game because there's passion there, there's intensity, there was no love, I can tell you that. There was absolutely no love between the players, no love between managements. There was heated arguments everywhere, and I love watching it. It just made me think of how proud I am of those lads that consider where we were a couple of years ago. The fact now that we're getting Wexford essentially rattled, come at me, what Wexford fans? The fact that we're getting them rattled was a good sign. A few substitutions that probably were made that didn't go to plan. I think taking off Dan Ravenhill at the moment we did was not the right decision either. I think we should have kept him on as well. I thought he was playing extremely well, was working tirelessly as well. And yeah, Lee Chin's goal, it was a cracker of a goal. I'm not going to take that away from him. Probably a lucky break as well. You could tell him salty, can't you? But yeah, no, look, Wexford, to their credit, they came back. They fought hard to get the job done. Keane Byrne had a much better second half than he did first half. He was putting, especially his second point from 40 yards out, it was put over exceptionally well. And yeah, they saw the game out, to their credit, and we could have I suppose in a way we can feel hard done by and say that we deserve something from the game. Dan Burke as well, I meant to mention as well, was exceptional. He's probably been Offaly's best player or certainly most consistent player this year, and for a guy he's not the biggest, but just his work rate, his speed, his intelligence, everything he does was fantastic. Sam Burke came and did a great job as well, to his credit as well. So yeah, no, it's a disappointing defeat. We'd have had to beat Antrim or get a draw against them next weekend either way, regardless of yesterday's result. And given today's result, Wexford are out of the championship as well. So next weekend's game against Kilkenny, again, much like Limerick is a dead rubber. But yeah, massive win for Wexford. They could have done without losing a home game as well. And considering their last two performances as well against Galway and Dublin, they'd have been best pleased to just get out of here with a victory. But certainly not convincing by any standard anyway.
Yeah, no, I think, look, the reality is Offaly have closed the gap dramatically, and Fiona says here echoes of the 1990s going on in Offaly, and we all know how that culminated. It culminated with an All-Ireland win in 94, an All-Ireland win in 98, and those are still some of the most celebrated All-Ireland wins around, especially for the dramatics behind both years. And the heroic story of Michael Bond, obviously his Laker Gale. I watched it recently. Like, that was unbelievable stuff on TG4. And like, the reality is, when you put it this way, tell me if I'm wrong. Were you guys in the Christie Ring in 2019?
We were relegated from the Joe McDonagh in 2019.
And that was the same year Wexford won Leinster and made it to the All-Ireland semi-final, and were literally an inch away from reaching the All-Ireland final that year. So how the gap has closed in that 6 years is quite extraordinary. And I really believe that you fast forward 5 years, looking at what is coming in Offaly, looking at what is there in Wexford in the pipeline, Offaly will surpass Wexford at this rate, for sure. Now, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. But yeah, there's an issue that I hope that Offaly get good enough to really challenge Kilkenny. That's the main thing, and I really believe that it will happen. Brian says, at least Arsenal won, Liam. And he asks you, what are your expectations for the Offaly hurlers?
Well, it's funny. Like you said, hurling's a funny game. We could easily be sitting here now on 4 points with a game against Antrim next weekend, with the possibility of getting a third place spot. And Anthony Daly's prediction on the Sunday game could have looked like an absolute genius move, Yeah. But just closing games out, closing the game out against Dublin, we didn't. It's as simple as that. Dublin had too much firepower coming off the bench as well. Ronan Hayes, just at his goal, but just his performance in general. The midfield battle was kind of won by Dublin. Well, not kind of, it was won by Dublin that day. And just yesterday, just seeing the games out, really, we've had a lot of injuries this year as well. Everyone knows about Adam Screeney and his injury. Keelan Kiley's not there at the moment. Turgainen, for me, is the biggest injury of all, to be honest with you. He's a player that is going to have a long future with the Offaly hurlers, with the Kilcormac hurlers as well. He's a terrific player. Evan Kelly was out for a while. O'Call missed the start of the year. Ben Keneally missed a good chunk of the league as well. We've had our fair share of injury records this year. So the fact that we're sitting here now and we're saying that, we're disappointed to have lost to both Wexford and Dublin away from home as well by just 3 points. It shows that, and listen, against Galway as well, we started well and then we kind of just collapsed with goals. Kilkenny really just was men against boys, really. It was just a different class altogether, really. But
that happens though when you come up. That happens when you get a couple of games where the level is kind of shown that you have to get to. And I really believe, I really believe that give it a couple of years, you'll be mixing it to get out of the province. Sean says, Leinster is dry right now, but I see promise for the future. Dublin are getting better with promising youth teams. Offaly will also be coming in the next 2 years, and never rule out Wexford or Galway. Yeah, look, the reality is I do make Offaly huge favourites for that game against Antrim. But Antrim have kind of made a habit of being sneaky with it. It's almost like they're like, yeah, we know what game we're focusing on here, lads. They saw Westmeath beat Wexford and then Antrim beat them. And we've had results like that